Hi everyone, my name is Kay from The Immigration People. As some of you will know, Singapore is a very safe and secure place and it attracted a lot of foreigners to migrate to Singapore. And one of the common challenges that a lot of expats face is purchasing a property in Singapore due to the high additional buyer's stamp duty. So we're very happy that we invited Melvin, which is the CEO and co-founder of PropertyLimBrothers, to share with us some top 10 commonly asked questions by foreigner acquiring a property in Singapore. Hi Melvin.
Hi Kay.
Hi, good to
very
have
happy
you.
To be here.
Yeah, good to have you.
Yeah.
I always see you on Instagram, so
Oh,
it
wow.
looks so surreal to see you in real today.
All right.
Alright, so
Good to be here.
the first question that we have, actually these questions, right, normally we'll ask during the consultation session. So one of the questions is that can a foreigner who is married to a Singaporean purchase a BTO or new flat directly from the HDB?
Right, that's a very interesting question. So this is what we call the non-citizen spouse scheme. So actually, HDB is very open for foreign spouse status that's married to a Singapore citizen to purchase HDB properties. It's just that there's two very clear segregation in terms of what they're eligible to purchase. If they are hunting for a resale property, then that's no problem. They can go ahead and hunt for resale property, any types of resale property under the non-citizen spouse scheme. But pertaining to your question, if it's for a brand new BTO or a new flat under the sales of balance scheme, then they can only qualify for the two-bedder flexi BTO kind of property. So that is a more stringent criteria. And they also have to ensure that the Singapore citizen spouse must be at least 35 years old before they can qualify for a brand new one. So based on this scheme, actually we can see what is HDB's direction is more towards directing this group of couples towards the resale market, which is also okay because for the resale market, there's also a wide range of choices and they don't have to wait for 3 to 4 years of construction period for a BTO. They can straight away secure a property right in the resale market.
But does this foreign spouse has to be a Singapore PR?
Okay, so the foreign spouse does not have to be a Singapore PR, so they can continue to be a foreigner status. It's just that there's some permutations in the length of their long-term visit pass. So if they're going for a resale property, to qualify to purchase is either if the Singapore citizen is at least 21 years old or 35 years old, depending on the length of the long-term visit pass from the foreign spouse. Yeah.
Okay, so I understand there's a lot more restriction, right?
Yes, there is.
Sure. What about can a foreigner purchase a landed property in Singapore, exclude Sentosa? Because everyone knows that Sentosa,
Right.
you know, it's okay for a foreigner to purchase a property in Sentosa, but out of Sentosa,
Right.
is that okay?
Right, so that's a very interesting question. It's also a very common question that we get from our foreign buyers and investors. So everybody is very interested in landed properties because in the entire island, right in the Singapore main island, excluding Sentosa, there are only about 73 to 75,000 landed properties with a combination of tenures starting from 99 years to 999 years to freehold landed properties, and they are considered the cream of the crop of the residential market. So like condominiums, there's about 330,000 condominiums, and then HDBs, there's about 1.2 million HDB on the island itself. So to have a landed property is considered like one of the most prestige level that a lot of Singaporeans are aiming for. Yeah, so our government is also very smart and very clear in the ownership status. So this is only reserved for Singapore citizen status. So even if, let's say, you are a Singapore permanent resident, you also need to apply for LDAU approval from Singapore Land Authority. So if you're a foreign buyer, you definitely have to apply for LDAU approval from the Singapore Land Authority. And maybe the next question you'll ask me is that what does it take to get approval, right? So getting the approval is not easy because on the Singapore Land Authority website, under the LDAU Land Dealings unit, basically there are only two criteria. Number one is that you have to be a Singapore PR for at least 5 years to be able to submit an application. Number two is that you must have significant economic contribution, which they further elaborate that, you know, is also based on the tax assessment over the past couple of years. So I think based on this, Definitely, I think anybody can submit an application to try.
I can.
Yeah, you can definitely submit the application to try. Then, based on the response from LDAU, then you can see how do you want to proceed from there. Yeah, so I would say that SPR is easier than a foreign buyer, unless it's a special situation and based on case-by-case basis. Yeah,
I got it. And I think that there is one successful cases, right, which is Sir James Dyson managed to purchase a property in Singapore.
Yes.
Although he's not a Singaporean.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Alright.
So of course, Sir James Dyson, being such a global brand, right? Definitely, I think Singapore viewed it as a great economic contribution if he does have a property in Singapore and bring business to Singapore and things like that. Yeah.
Great. Now the next question is that are there additional buyer stamp duty for foreigner?
Yeah, so definitely there are additional buyer stamp duty. In fact, in Singapore, because the real estate market has already been very buoyant for the past 10 to 15 years, so we are already in our 11th round of cooling measures.
Wow.
Yeah, so the ABSD, technically, the more hefty one started from year 2013, and all the way until now, the very recent one is was on the 16th of December 2021, which is about 1 month ago. So as a foreign buyer, basically the stamp duty that you have to pay on your first property is 30%. Yeah, so that is on top of the purchase price. So for example, if you were to purchase a property for let's say $2 million, that additional 30% has to be paid. And this is classified as additional buyer stamp duty. Yeah, so on top of that, of course, there is the normal buyer stamp duty, which is 4%. So you need to take note that there's these two components. Yeah, if let's say you're a Singapore PR, then your first property will be slightly lower. First property additional buyer stamp duty is at 5% on top of the normal buyer stamp duty. So all in, that will be a totality of about 9%. Yeah.
Wow, so that's a really huge saving. We're talking about how many percent difference? It's like 30 minus 5%, right?
Yes, that's a 25% difference. Yeah, if you were to get your permanent residence. Yeah.
So that's why getting a PR is very important.
Yes.
Yeah, that's our job. All right, now the next question is what are the benefits for buying a property as a PR and citizen versus a foreigner?
Yeah, so I would think that, that the most direct benefit will be in the form of the additional buyer stamp duty that one has to pay. So of course, as a Singapore citizen, for your very first property, you do not have to pay any additional buyer stamp duty. So additional buyer stamp duty count is at 0%. Everybody definitely needs to pay the standard buyer stamp duty. So even as a Singapore citizen, you have to pay that 4% buyer stamp duty. Of course, for Singapore citizens, our second and third property, there are additional buyer stamp duty amount that we do have to pay. So basically, when we look at the realm of stamp duties, cooling measures, is really to curb Singaporeans and PRs and foreign buyers from owning additional and multiple properties. So it's mainly to curb the amount of transactions because of the heated market here. So as a Singapore PR, the direct benefit is that your first property is at only 5% compared to a foreign buyer at 30%. So that's an instant saving of 25% as what we chatted just now. Also, there's a second benefit is that if you do get married to another Singapore permanent resident status partner, and both of you are married for at least 3 years, you would then be eligible to purchase a HDB resale property. Yeah, so you have another type of property that is being opened up to you in terms of choice. So I would say that will be the few key direct benefits.
All right. Can, if let's say spouse, right, both are PR, can they buy a BTO?
Okay, so if both are PR, they cannot buy a direct BTO. They cannot buy any properties that is directly from HDB. They can only qualify for a resale property, and they have to be so-called married. That's the first thing. And both of them has to be having that PR status for at least 3 years. So even if let's say one spouse has been a PR for 5 years, another spouse has only been a PR for 2 years, they then have to wait 1 more year to attain that 3 years benchmark before they can buy a HDB resale.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got it. The next question is, how much is the ideal cash amount to set aside if a Singapore PR is purchasing a condo in Singapore?
Okay, so in terms of the amount of down payment, that is similar to a Singapore citizen. The key difference will be 2 parameters. So number one is that everybody will need to have at least a 25% down payment. And that 25% down payment can be broken down into 5% cash and then 20% cash or CPF. Yeah, so of course, if the Singapore permanent resident, if they have been working for some time, they have saved up their CPF, they can also utilize their CPF towards the down payment. So the first one is you have to have at least 25%. And then you need to take note that you need to have at least another 4%, which is the buyer stamp duty. A very easy way to calculate the buyer stamp duty is that you take 4% multiplied by the purchase price if it's above $1 million, and you deduct 15,400 from that permutation. So you will roughly know how much you need for that stamp duty. And of course, the third one for a Singapore permanent resident is that you need to set aside another 5%. So all in, to simplify for you, will be 25, 4, and 5, and that's 34%. So once you have that 34%, you can go ahead to purchase your property. Of course, the second permutation is that before you even commit to put down a deposit for your first property in Singapore as a PR, do make sure that you have an in-principle approval from the bank to make sure that you can qualify for at least 75% of the loan, or towards the purchase price. So usually when you go through that in-principle approval with banks, they will advise you on what is the maximum amount that you can loan, and then you can work backwards with a down payment to calculate the maximum purchase price. Yeah, because the last thing you want is that you put down a deposit and then you realize that you cannot loan up to that amount. Yeah, so banks will look at your age. They will also look at the amount of income that you have, and the amount of debt that you have. Yeah.
Wow, sounds like a very far away dream. I think I need to start saving for now.